Hello, and welcome to another session of This Ain't My Life podcast. I'm your host, Bilal Alaji, and today we're going to be discussing the power of silence. So, in a world of talk, in a world of a lot of chit chatter, in a world of clamor, we find the need to develop the power of silence. And this is the hardest thing to do because the world is bombarded by all of this noise. I mean, we have people who are indulging in conversations all the time. We have music, we have videos, we have influencers, we have celebrities, we have people who are in family dynamics and family situations where they're involved in constant talk and constant chatter. And this noise can be bombarding. It can be overwhelming to the point where it is a distraction and it can become troublesome to the body, right? Sometimes you don't want to go out. You don't want to be involved with situations or with people because inherently, that you are going to be bombarded by all of the elements of talk, chit chatter, and clamor. And so, with that being said, how do we avoid being involved with all of the noise of the world, and yet we want to be somewhere in life? There's a destination we want to get to. There are things that are driving us that we want out of life, and it's hard to navigate through all of that when you have all of this noise that's constantly coming at you. And so the thing that makes the noise so troubling is that it's being driven by ego because we truly live in a world of vanity. I mean, let's be honest, the world is full of vanity, it's full of ego, and it's full of people who require or have a need for validation and acceptance. And because of this, with social media being the main driver and with all other media outlets, it has really truly amplified the noise that we are constantly being subjected to on a day to day basis. And so it is very important that we learn to find a way to harness a new power, a new way to come outside of all of that so that we are being very direct and being very, very focused about what it is that we want out of life. There are ways to get to that, but the antithesis, the antithesis of talk and chatter and clamor is silence. And silence is going to be that driver. It's going to be that main focal point that you are going to need to deliver the most potent and concentrated energy that you need to get to where you want to be in life. Now, one of the main reasons why it is important to develop and take on the power of silence is because there are frequency pirates out there. Frequency pirates are people who steal ideas. These are people who set traps. And these are people who delay your progress. So you have a wonderful idea. You're out with friends. You're discussing your ideas. You're very open and honest, and you have all these ambitions, and you're being driven really truly by passion. And you're out discussing your ideas, and a frequency pirate will just infringe on that idea. They like what you're doing, but they can do it better. And they just feel that they can take it and they can do what they need to do with that idea. And so now what you had that you were nurturing and protecting and being driven by is now being taken away from you by a frequency pirate, someone who just infringed on your frequency level and is now willing to take what you have for their own pleasure and for their own enjoyment or advancement. The other thing is that even if they don't steal your idea, they will set traps. Now, setting traps is a way to just really make it difficult for you to get where you want to be in life. If you ask someone for help, or you tell them that you need them to make a phone call for you, or is there a reference or is some type of resource that they can give to you, they will say that they can do it. But you know whether it gets done or not is a different story. Or they'll tell a different story about you that's non-related to what you're really about or what you're really trying to do, just making things very, very difficult for you to get where you want to be, because they understand that you have a really big goal, you have a really big dream and vision. And a lot of times when people are not at your level, or they don't have your aspirations, they don't share in your aspirations and goals, they will, out of their own iniquity, out of their own insecurities, they will make it difficult for you. And that's setting traps. And obviously that's because there's a learning curve for them, and they need to do better. People are intrinsically good, but they do bad things because they need to know to do better. And so you can protect yourself from these frequency pirates. You don't want them to delay your progress. You don't want them to make it difficult for you to get what it is that you want out of life. If they say they're going to do something and then, oh, I forgot, you don't want that. And you can protect yourself by just using the power of silence, knowing when to discuss those matters, knowing when to share the intimacies of your thoughts, the intimacies of your vision, knowing who to share that with. This is going to be very critical in how well you develop and nurture your ideas. So, how does this whole frequency thing work? Because I'm telling you that, there are frequency pirates out there and they're going to steal this and steal that from you. So, let's scale back just for a second and let's talk about how this whole frequency thing works. So, energy is transmitted into the universe, is right? It's put out into the ether. And this energy is put out as thoughts, it's put out as feelings, and it's also put out as words. The chatter, the chit chatter, the talk, the clamor, that is also energy. And so, what that energy does is the energy goes out and it finds a frequency that matches it. And when it finds that frequency that matches and aligns with it, then that's when it begins to begin in its co-creation, right? These frequencies and the alignment come together and they join in frequency alignment. And so that's when you start to get like coincidences, you start getting deja vu, you start getting things that you didn't understand, how you got to that point. But a lot of it has to do with the frequency that you are aligning at. And because of the frequency that you're aligning with, you are going to find a frequency match. And that frequency match may not be what it is that you are saying that you want. And so a lot of times, to avoid being in these frequency matches, it is better to withdraw that energy and to harness it. And when you're able to withdraw it and harness it through the power of silence, you find that you can put the energy where you desire it to be, exactly where you want your frequency to be. You can place it and you will find the correct match and align with the correct energy that you need to align with. So now that we understand a little bit more about how the frequency works, the real question is, why do you really need to be silent? And is silence really something that will help advance you? Because some people are saying, well, some people may say that you sound, like you're a little paranoid. You're really feeling like people are going to steal everything from you, feeling like, they're setting traps and delays and everybody's out to get you. If you don't share your thoughts and share your ideas, then how is it going to get out to the world, right? If you were to have like this complete optimist attitude. So here's the deal. The deal is that all of these statements are true, whether you can look at the argument on either side and they would be true. But here's where things become a little convoluted, right? So you want to be able to know when to share and use your energy with the right energy. And that's the catalyst. That's what propels you forward. A lot of times we're just out there and we're sharing and we're doing all the things, but we're really doing it for validation. We're really doing it for acceptance, and we're really doing it to please our ego. If we really, really thought about why we do a lot of the things we do, they mostly fall in those three categories. So silence helps you to break away and break free of these three vanities of the world. And it allows you to be more concentrated about what it is that you're doing. And it allows you to do it authentically. If you're really passionate about what you're doing, then you will align with those who are really there to help you. That's just the way energy works. That's just the way the universe works. So, here are the real main reasons for being silent. The first one is that it helps you with self awareness and self discovery. This is the time for you to get closer to higher consciousness. So when you're in the self discovery phase, there are things that are happening to you. You are one, able to channel your energy. So you're not constantly over talking people, you're not cutting people off, and you're also able to listen more. So when you're able to listen, that means you're able to hear. And when we are truly able to hear, that means we really offer valuable commentary, valuable feedback. Not only that, but we're also able to connect with other people. So our emotional intelligence becomes heightened because we're understanding where someone else is coming from. We're seeing things from their vantage point. And so silence allows us to just be on those different ends of the spectrum. And the most important part is that you begin to develop this higher consciousness. The other aspect is that silence is the point of transformation. Silence is also a patent protection. When I say patent protection, I mean we all have um, intellectual property, right? We have these thoughts, we have these ideas, we have visions, and these dreams that we have, those are very, very special to us and they need to be protected. Those are like babies. And, speaking of a baby, do you know that in the animal kingdom, especially with the lionesses, they remove themselves from everyone. They remove themselves from the pack and they go off into a very secret, discreet place to give birth. They do it in silence. They do it where, they can create their own solace. And that's the level of development for your idea. that you need to have. I mean, here we have the most violent creature on the planet. I mean, lions are arguably the most apex predator that's ever been created. They can bring down an elephant when they work together. They can bring down a buffalo. And yet, this apex predator goes off into seclusion to have a baby. And when they feel that the time is right, they will bring the baby to meet the rest of the herd. So, this is what I mean by patent protection. But let's talk about these 3 points. We're going to talk about the higher consciousness, the point of transformation, and the patent protection. So, the first is higher consciousness. The concept of silence was really brought into understanding by Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was a real big advocate, real big voice for silence. And I would say she probably was the loudest voice in the 21st century about how to use silence as a strength. And it was through her teachings that people begin to understand like what you can do when silence comes to you, when you're at a point where you're in seclusion or things are quiet, and why you need to have quiet. She really was a driving force with utilizing silence. And although she was very religious and used silence for praying, we understand that silence is also used in meditation. Silence is also used in other aspects of spiritual and frequency development. Also, prophets, men who are mentioned in the Bible, men who are mentioned in the Torah, men who are mentioned in the Quran, and many other religious scripts, these men also had to go into places where they were in seclusion, whether they left and abandoned a palace. Siddhartha, Buddha, he left a place of comfort. He was in a palace and he left to go into the wilderness so that he could gain spiritual enlightenment. This was his testimony. Muhammad of Arabia, he was bombarded by everything that was going on in Arabia, and he would go off into a cave and he would stay in a cave day in, day out, constantly go up there to retreat from the craziness and the noise that was going on in Arabia. And this is where he found enlightenment. Moses, he went up to the top of the hill and he actually was communicating with God. The stories go on and on and on. We could talk about David and Solomon and all of the other great prophets who found enlightenment through seclusion. So there is something about this aspect of silence that the universe is telling us that it's there for us to utilize, to capitalize, to leverage, for us to come out of the places that we are in, because those frequency, they're too low. They're just far too low. Wise men, men who state parables, they always talk about how you need to listen more and talk less. There are many parables about this, how you should, use your tongue less, how the tongue has two gates, and these two gates are to help you to refrain from doing so much talking, because it's through all of the talking and engaging in frivolous conversation that you lose the potency of what you are here to do, what your goals are, what your aspirations are, what your dreams are. Also, inside a higher consciousness, you're able to hear your inner voice. When there's silence, you can hear the voice that's inside of you that's seeking to communicate with you. Whether you want to call this your intuition, your gut, whatever title or name you want to give this voice, this inner voice that's always seeking to communicate with you, you can hear it when things are silent, when things are quiet, when it's serene, when there are no distractions, when things have been put away, and you can channel and focus and get more into yourself. You actually can hear the inner voice. And so this is what the power of silence promotes. Also, with higher consciousness, when there is silence, it activates dreams, it activates downloads. So you're able to receive information directly from the universal source. Dreams are important because dreams are, they're like these visual data, right? So almost like a movie screen that allows you to see things that are to happen, things that could happen, things that will happen, things that did happen. But visual for us as humans is very important because that's how we function. We function from being able to see, whether seeing with our eyes or seeing internally. But dreams allow us to have this photocopied memory stored in our database that we're able to refer to. We're able to constantly go back. We can interpret it. We can have an understanding from it. And these dreams inspire us. Like there are sometimes dreams that you have that are just so ridiculous, but it means something to you. I mean, I remember I had a dream one time and I was playing basketball and I was playing against Kobe. I can't even remember all the people I was playing on the court with, but they couldn't hold me. And I'm hitting these shots. They are in my face. And I mean, the shot clock's going down. It's fourth quarter. You know, I need the ball. Give me the ball. And I'm hitting these shots and I just feel it. I'm in the zone. Now, could that really happen? We all know I can aspire as much as I want to be great on a basketball court, but that's not my forte. I believe what the dream was telling me was that in the moments of the game that I'm playing right now, what I'm aspiring to do with my life, I can be that person. And it's all about the feeling I had. I felt on top of the world when I exited that dream. I felt like there was nothing that could stop me, and dreams, they will allow you to see other people who are on high frequencies that you probably have no reason being around or being near, but you can be near them through frequency. And you can do that by simply ascending through the power of silence to a higher frequency. And so, having these dreams, having these downloads are information that comes to you directly from the universe and provides you with information that no one else has relayed to you, information that will help you and guide you along your path to help you explore and navigate things that you didn't think of on your own. There's no way you could have thought of it because if you could have thought of it, you would have. So the next thing the power of silence helps you to do is to Getting to the point of transformation. The point of transformation, we spoke about being in a cocoon. And the cocoon for us, when we're talking about the caterpillar butterfly, the cocoon represents the metamorphosis, but it also represents being in seclusion. And seclusion represents a place that is quiet. It represents silence. It represents being away, put into isolation, right? And so when you're in that point, we know that the caterpillar goes into the cocoon for what? What is the purpose for a caterpillar going into a cocoon? He only goes into the cocoon because he knows he's about to transform. He's about to become something else. So if you're at a point right now where things are very frustrating for you, you're wondering why people are leaving you, you're wondering why things are starting to get more quiet, you're losing friends, and people are not understanding you, it just might be because you're entering into the point of transformation. While at the point of transformation, you have the ability to be focused. You have the ability to be obsessed about what it is that you want. You have the ability to be laser focused about your vision, about your goals, about your desires. You have the ability to actually manifest your destiny. This is what the point of transformation is doing for you. The point of transformation is also a place where you develop your internal compass. Your internal compass is sort of like what we spoke about earlier when we talked about your inner voice. But the inner compass, this is how you start to learn to feel about things, right? You use your sensory components of yourself, and using the sensory, the feeling state, you're able to navigate through your feelings how you should move, how you should go, and how you should begin to proceed in whatever direction you're going into. And this is how you begin to elevate through the point of transformation. Because when you're using your feeling as well as your inner voice, then you begin to eliminate doubt. It gets harder for you to subscribe to things that will take you off your path. It gets harder for you to take on other energies because you're so connected to your inner voice. You're so connected to this internal compass, this feeling state that you now develop while inside of the cocoon and inside of this power of silence, that you could never, ever subscribe to outside voices. And because of that, you are now confident. Not just confident, you're supremely confident. You have a knowing about yourself that's starting to make you glow. People are starting to look at you, and they're squinting their eyes and scrunching their mouth because they're saying, what what does this guy think he's doing? Who does he think he is? And now they got to work extra harder to get you outside of this energy. But at the same time, there's some kind of resentment and jealousy because it's like, how did he do that? How did he get to that point? And that's because of the point of transformation. You're transforming and you're using this power that you didn't know was there right in front of you. You're using it in a way to leverage to this state of strength that others will never understand. The third aspect is this patent protection I was talking about. The patent protection. This is when we begin to protect the intellectual property, right? You have a vision, you have a goal, you have a dream, you are aspiring to something great, but this needs to remain private. You need to have right in front of your, let's just pretend like you're where your ideas are. There is a gate. On that gate, there needs to be a keypad, and written in front of the gate, it needs to say no access. No access. We are going to avoid frequency pirates. We're keeping pirates away because just as women give birth to babies, men also give birth to babies. The babies that men give birth to are ideas. Ideas are the babies of men. In the same way, a woman goes through the 9 months, the 9 different stages to bring a baby into the world safely, a man must do the same steps. He must take the same course of action with his ideas, because this is the greatness of man. Man is able to bring ideas. He's able to bring vision into reality. And to do that, you must have a patent protection. You must protect your idea at all costs. When you have this patent protection, it helps you to maintain and build energy, right? Because now you're in your own space. You're the driver. You're the captain of the ship. So no one is there to tell you what can be done, what can't be done. This is you. It's all about you. And that's important, because when you are in control, that means that you have to take ownership and you also have to take accountability for where this ship is going. You can't blame anyone. You can't say, well, it's because this person said this or this person said that. You can't allow that to happen because you made a decision. And that decision was for you to be the captain, to be the author, to be the driver behind this idea. Behind this magnificent idea, you are the captain, and you're deciding how this gets played out. And so, if you can maintain and build the right energy, because you are nurturing your energy and you are protecting that idea, then you will be the one that will have the results that you're looking for, that will not only sustain you, but it will elevate you to see that thought come into reality. Patent protection also avoids validation, right? It avoids acceptance. You're able to refrain from ego, because when you're in that patent protection mode, remember, you're the driver, you're the captain. So it doesn't matter what anyone else says, because that would make them a subordinate. They're under you. There's no one over the captain on the ship. The captain makes the decisions. So the only way that this could be flipped around, or it can be done any other way, is if the captain decides he no longer wants to be the captain. Now, can the captain accept feedback? Can he accept input? Can he accept criticism? Of course. No one is saying to close doors and to be closed minded, But what you don't want to do is allow anyone to come in and disrupt what it is that you're doing. So this helps you to avoid getting validation from other people because you're so secure in what you're doing. It doesn't matter if they agree, disagree, they like it, don't like it, whether they comment or subscribe. It doesn't matter because you're moving at your own beat. You're protecting something that is so significant to you that it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It doesn't matter what they feel. You don't need their acceptance. You don't need their validation. And you're not driven by ego. You're driven by vision. You're driven by a goal. You're driven by your destiny. This is a calling, something that is driving you beyond your own understanding. So, those are the three aspects of using the power of silence. Being able to gain a higher consciousness, right? You get closer to your higher consciousness. You enter into the point of transformation and you develop this patent protection over your ideas. Now, and we talked about self-development, how, the power of silence allows you to have this self-discovery. So now, before we conclude, I'd like to just give you some tips on how to use the power of silence in the correct way so that you don't just go along and, use the power of silence incorrectly. So, the very first thing is when you're using the power of silence with other people, right? I talked about how you can be in a setting where people are discussing their goals, their visions, and ideas. The one thing you want to do when you're around people, you're in these type of settings, is you want to use discernment. Discernment is very, very important. The Bible says you will know them by their fruit. And that's a very true statement. People do and say a lot of different things, but if you use a careful eye, you will know them by their fruit, by what they are actually demonstrating to you. That will show you who they are. Les Brown, the world renowned public speaker, he had a phrase he used to always say, and he said, "What you do speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying." And that's very, very true. Spend more time watching what people do versus what they say, because that is the one skill that humans have that is very misleading. People will tell you all kinds of things, but if you watch what they do, you will know what their intentions are and you will know where they're actually going or what they're genuinely looking to achieve. So use discernment. Use discernment as carefully as you can, and that will help you with knowing when to speak, when not to speak, when to share, when not to share. I look at it like a game of chess. Could you imagine you're playing chess, and as you're playing chess with your opponent, he just shouts out pawn to b4. You're like, what are you doing? Because chess is a silent game. It wouldn't be any fun if the opponent is telling you what he's getting ready to do or telling you his strategy. That's just not how the game is played. We play the game in silence. And that's how you should look at your life. You should look at your life a lot like that chessboard, being very, very cautious about stating pawn to b4. you don't want to let everyone know your porn is going to be for. Only until your porn goes to be for should they know. And that's the power of silence. I really genuinely want you to be empowered. And you can be empowered, and knowing how to use this power of silence, it'll give you so much confidence and power, because literally no one will have control over you. You will throw everyone off. People who thought they can anticipate your next move, or people who think that they can put traps and delay you, they they will be completely dismayed. And the other thing is that you can eliminate influencers, right? You can eliminate a lot of naysayers. And unfortunately, a lot of people are people have succumbed to what influencers do for them. And they have succumbed to it in a way where it's toxic, but it's also depleting. You can have your ideas completely vanquished, completely wiped out, because someone says something to you. Idea gone, drive diminished. And now you are so depleted, without a goal, without a vision, that you're entering into a depressive state. So, to alleviate all of that, knowing how to use the power of silence in its appropriate way, not being antisocial, not being um, someone who is very clammy when they're around other people, and you become so protective that you don't even want to have conversations with people. This is not the way either. you know Read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. Always have great interactions with people. But does that mean that you have to be the star of the show? Does that mean you have to overtalk? Does that mean that you have to overshare? Does it mean that you have to get to a point where you want to show everyone that you have better dreams than they have, or you're looking to one up people? These are the things that I'm talking about, because silence helps us to neutralize. It helps us to um, shackle ego. Silence helps us to put acceptance and validation in bondage. So there you have it. This is the power of silence. And it is a very, very important component for elevating yourself to get to the next level that you want to be in your life. It's also a very important component for developing the right energy to meet the energy that you're looking to connect with. Remember, that's how frequency works. Your thoughts, your feelings, your words, they go out into the ether, they go out into the universe, and they find a frequency match. So when you are really channeling that energy, when you are purposeful about what it is that you want to do with your goals, your visions, and your dreams, then it will be easier for you to connect with other energy sources that are just like yours, that are there to help you, that are there to provide um, the right guidance, that are there to provide resources, and genuinely just give you the connection for you to leverage. That's what will happen when you channel that energy the right way. Before we conclude, I'd like to end with the words of Mother Teresa. She says in her book, Everything Starts from Prayer, she says, silence is the beautiful fruit of prayer. We must learn not only the silence of the mouth, but also the silence of the heart, of the eyes, of the ears, and of the mind, which I call the five silences. You will find all the power that you need lying within the power of silence. Thank you, and I'll catch you on the next podcast. Take care.